Hey everybody, and welcome back to the homestead. In today's video we are harvesting our potato towers. So this year we decided to plant our potatoes in potato towers, and we were inspired by Wilderstead, fellow YouTubers, so you definitely want to check them out. I will post a link to their channel below. And I also filmed a video on how we set up our potato towers, and we did this early in the spring, so if I remember I will post a link up above so you guys can check that out and see how we set them up. One of the reasons why we went with this method is because it takes up a lot less real estate. With the amount of seed potatoes that we planted this year, this would have taken up at least 3 or 4 garden boxes, and we just don't eat enough potatoes to want to take up that much room in the garden. We have other crops that are far more important. So the big draw for us was less real estate. As you can see, these 3 seed potato towers didn't really take up a lot of space. And we're going to not pause the video, but we're just going to check out. I mean, look at that little guy over there. So this is my neighbor's building. And they never finished the roof, and so we have had multiple families of raccoons move in there, and this one seems to be quite content in watching us film our potato video. Anywho, I digress. So basically how we set them up, like I said, if you want more details, check out the previous video, but basically we kind of layered them like a potato parfait. We created a nest of straw. We put in our growing medium, which was a really nutrient-rich soil. We then Then we put in our seed potatoes around the perimeter of the tower, put in a little bit more soil, and then we created another nest of straw and repeated the process. So basically kind of like a parfait, a lasagna, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of what we did here. And I should have taken a video earlier in the season. Right now, as you can see, all the foliage has died back. This is a great indication to us that it is time to harvest the potatoes. This was, and my husband will absolutely agree with me here, this was full of lush, beautiful green leaves, absolutely billowing with them. And they, of course, all flowered and have now died back. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn the camera off for this part. We're going to take down the stakes that we had holding up the potato towers, and we're actually just going to knock the towers over. And we think that's probably going to be the easiest way for us to harvest our potatoes. And we're also going to do our best to salvage as much straw as possible, because I'm going to reuse it when we plant our garlic this fall. So we've knocked over our first tower, and we decided that working from the bottom is probably going to be easiest, and salvaging the straw may also not really be feasible. Sometimes it's frugal and sometimes it's cheap, and I'm thinking, you know, we might not be able to. So we'll pull back our first layer of growing medium, and as you can see, I'm already finding some potatoes, which is awesome. Oh, check out that one. Oh, it's a heart-shaped potato. That's because I love you guys. Thanks for watching. So as you can see, that was the soil they were growing in. Oh, and there's lots more. Awesome. And then this would be the little layer of straw that we had as a nest. So we're going to get to harvesting. As you can see, this was where our red potatoes were growing. And we have some of all different sizes, which again is fine by us. We're not a huge potato eating family. We actually prefer sweet potatoes. And we grow 2 full beds of those every year. And I've got a sweet potato slip starting video as well that you should check out, because we started all of our own slips this year and they look fantastic. So we're going to get to harvesting, and I'm sure what you'll want to see at the end is the yield that we got from these 3 towers. One thing I want to point out before we get to harvesting, when we started this tower, it was full. So over the season, with all the rain and everything, it has compacted down quite a bit, especially the one in the back there. So we have our red potatoes here, our regular yellow potatoes, and then we have a variety of heirlooms in the back. So we'll see how they all performed, and we're going to be filling up my son's old wagon here, and you can see what our yields are after we're all done. So we've just finished digging out all 3 potato towers, and the yield is, I will fully admit, is not what we had hoped. But we did notice something really interesting. All of the potatoes at the bottom of the tower were nice and big in size. Like, as you can see, we do have some really nice large potatoes. What we also noticed down at the bottom of the towers was that that's where the soil was the wettest. Obviously, gravity works. We are in the middle of a drought here in southern Ontario. It's been a rough year in terms of water. And we've kind of learned a bit of a harsh lesson that we don't have enough water collection on our homestead, and we barely watered these towers. And I'm looking, and we have like hundreds of really teeny tiny potatoes. So we'll obviously keep doing our research. For us, we're actually quite happy with this yield. Did we expect more? Absolutely. Maybe not more. I expected more of these, not as many of these. So like I said, I'm going to do some more research. I always show you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know, never hide what we do here. We are still learning every single year. So my theory is that we didn't water enough. And that is the reason why we have so many really small potatoes, which are going to be delicious and excellent for roasting, not so much for French fries. So let me know how your potato harvests have gone this year. Let me know if you tried the tower method. Let me know if you watered more than we did. Like I said, we really didn't water. There were a few times this summer where all of our rain barrels were completely empty. So we're going to have to step up our game next year in water collection. But, you know, we're fairly happy, I'd say. Would the husband agree? Yeah. For us, for a family of 3 and the kiddo who's probably not really going to eat most of these, I think we did all right. All right, so it's been a couple days since we harvested our potato towers. This has given me the chance to do just a bit more research so I can follow up for you guys too and tell you where we went wrong. And I added some notes in the video, so I'm sure you read those. But the number one thing we did wrong was we harvested them too soon. I actually commented on one of Wilderstead's videos talking about how we were having some trouble with the system, and the first thing he said was, were all the leaves dead? And I was like, no. And then he talked about, and I said we were pretty sure watering was an issue too, and he confirmed. So one, we harvested too early, and that came down to convenience for me. The kitchen is overflowing with food. My husband has gone back to work, so it's just me. And I start homeschooling next week, and I just wanted the potatoes off my list, you know, so live and learn. But I think our major problem was that we didn't water them enough. Potatoes need a lot of water, and as you guys saw, we had tons and tons and tons, like, you know, a couple hundred potatoes, but they were tiny. And that was because we didn't water enough, or at least assuredly that was one of the main reasons. Of course, we harvested too soon. But you know, that also kind of came down to a bit of laziness on our part too. We water exclusively with watering cans, and the potatoes were all the way at the back and the watering cans were all the way this way, and it took at least 2 full watering cans per tower, you know, to really water them well, and they just got neglected. And of course we ran out of water a bunch of times, and so we sort of triaged our needs, and we picked the crops that we loved the most. And like I mentioned in the first few clips of the video, that we're not huge potato eaters anyway. So for us, we don't consider this a failure. However, I wanted to film this follow-up because I don't want people to be discouraged by the method. I do not think the method is flawed. I do think that it can produce larger potatoes, more potatoes, but I think that, one, water. And Wilderstead has actually done a follow-up, and I'm really excited to see when they post their harvesting video to it. They did one tower this year with PVC pipe right down the center of the tower, and they had drilled holes into it. So that way it would provide more even watering throughout the tower, because we did, as I mentioned, notice that all the potatoes at the bottom were really big, which means that they had the potential to get really big, but that's where all the water sunk to, right? So we might try that next year too, but we really like how much less space it took up, and we're determined to make it work. We can reuse those towers again. They're in perfect shape. So we'll just store them over the winter, and we will definitely use this method again, but we'll make sure that we don't harvest too early. Don't be impatient. And we will ensure that they get the water that they need. So hopefully this has provided you guys with some information, some inspiration. You know, if you've got a small yard and you still want to be able to grow potatoes, I think this is an excellent method. And I will, you know, this time next year, film another video to compare, right? To compare this year to next year. So thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next video.